Hello and welcome once again. 3rd November marks 5 years since ComGap writer Jaine was evacuated from the Iraqi city of Basra. A 36-year-old mother of three, Caroline had rarely been parted from her family, and she knew she would face unique challenges. Today, her book, A Better Basra, which is a personal account of 100 days in Iraq, is launched with a seminar in the House of Lords in London. This is the story of Caroline's struggles as a female civilian in a war zone. It highlights an extraordinary time during the occupation. Those 100 days in Basra Palace were perhaps some of the most volatile and uncertain as the coalition fumbled the plan for a better Basra and the beginnings of an exit strategy. But Caroline's story is also a touching personal account of these times and a thoroughly entertaining read. The seminar, like the title of the book, draws from the then British Prime Minister Tony Blair's plan for a better Basra and looks at whether the city is in fact any better today. Caroline Jaine will be joining us from Cambridge in a moment, but before we talk to her, let's take a short break. The final cut. So hello, Caroline. Tell me about the launch of the book. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm slightly anxious because it's at such a prestigious location and the audience is going to be quite a mixture.
You say you're anxious because the audience, but you know you've spent time in a war zone, and that too one of the most dangerous war zones in the past, say 2, 3, 4 decades. So how was that anxiety compared to this?
I think it comes from a kind of culture within the civil service that one doesn't write about one's experiences, and I think when you do, and I've got very good reasons and motivations for writing about my time in Iraq, but a lot of the people in the room will be people that I shared time with in Iraq, so their view is very important to me.
Okay. Typically, you know, in the recent wars, women have ended up. I understand you were in the civil service, but life even in the green zones was not all fantastic. So, given that, do you feel that that having spent that time has changed you in any way? And now that you've abandoned your job and you've changed your line of work, so how has all that affected your life?
Well, the first point about being a woman, I think, and if you read my book, you'll see there's many times of which it was actually an advantage. Certainly, being a mother was an advantage too, in terms of kind of sleepless nights when you have a small baby. I'm quite used to waking up and functioning, you know, in a life-saving capacity in the middle of the night. Stupid things like how to do up your safety belts on a Merlin helicopter. Most men were completely flummoxed, but I've strapped my kids into baby seats enough times in the back of the car to be able to have managed it perfectly. And lots of other slightly more serious reasons why women can cope very well and always add to a situation like that. The other question was about was it a catalyst for change in me? Absolutely, certainly. Before I went to Iraq, I had been a diplomat for a number of years, but I think really it fused for me that passion for doing everything I could in my life to try and prevent or transform conflict and challenge, and particularly violence. And I realised I left the diplomatic service a year ago, and I think I realised that perhaps it wasn't diplomacy had changed, and that perhaps there were other ways in which I could do this other than being a diplomat, you know, by being a writer, by being an artist, by making films, all things I love doing as well. And I think there's nothing like coming close to danger to realising that there's no time like the present.
Okay, you said being a woman was, you sort of gave an advantage, and I'd go as far as saying it was an unfair advantage as women take. Let's be slightly sexist here. In the recent statements out of the United States, Hillary Clinton took the softest view. Do you think women would be better people to handle conflicts in the world today, given that the men have made quite a mess, as we can see? What do you think about that?
Let's not forget that we've had a female prime minister in this country who wasn't necessarily my favourite. So I don't think it's just men that make a mess. I think that women, there should be an increased role for women for sure. There's a huge imbalance in the world. And whenever you get an overly male environment, there are things missing, I think. Women are great communicators, great persuaders, and great to bring about solutions. So yes, of course there should be more women, but not just women. There should be a balance.
There should be balance. You don't think women you don't think women will do a better job than we do?
I don't think it's about better. I think it's about having both. I think that's the magic of the male and the female, is that when it works well together, that's the answer.
Okay. Tell me about the book. What are you expecting? What sort of response are you expecting? And tell me what all you've talked about in the book. What does it cover, and what should your readers be looking for?
Well, the reason I wrote the book primarily was because there's a lot of rhetoric about male military in Iraq, and I thought it would be good to see from a female mother's point of view and a civilian point of view about some of the struggles that we faced there. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's quite unique. I also realised I was asked to give evidence to the group of people at the Iraq Inquiry. I realised that the time that I was in Iraq was quite unique, and during the time of the occupation. I hadn't really appreciated that. I just thought it was all dangerous, but actually the time that we were there was during the sort of ending days. We withdrew from the Basra Palace compound that we were in shortly after I left. So then it was an important moment in history to talk about, but not just through the voices of the military, but through the voices of kind of ordinary people like me. There was another reason for writing it, and that was to prepare people going into situations like that for what to expect from themselves. I advise a tremendous organisation called Achilles, which provides training and support for people that are going to be exposed to potentially traumatic environments. It couldn't pretend to prevent post-traumatic stress disorder, but it helps you understand that some of your behaviours, maybe like hypervigilance or jumping very easily when you hear a noise, or sleepless nights, are actually quite normal when you come out of a situation like that, and that we heal ourselves reasonably well. So those are my main motivations.
Okay. What you've said is like you want it to be used for prospective people, who could be going to similar conflicts. Do you think a book like this could prevent such conflicts in the future?
No, I don't think it could prevent it. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Why not?
Yeah, an enormous claim, wouldn't it? I mean, if it would make people think twice, I don't know. That would be great. I mean, I think one of the other big messages in the book is about the media. I mean, I was head of press and public affairs at the British Embassy office in Basra, and two people that have read it. Not many people have read it because obviously the official launch is today. But the people that have read it who were not military, not civil service, not journalists, just friends, said that the overriding feeling they got from reading the book was that of the illusions that are presented to us in the media, and that you never really can take at face value what you see in the media, and that there is no single truth to any situation. So I think for me that would be I was very pleased that they picked up on that, because that's the kind of overriding message in the book.
Let me see if I understood that right. You just said that not a single truth was presented in the media.
There is no single truth. I didn't say not a single truth, but there is no
Okay, so all right.
Not one version of reality ever in our life.
And you feel media globally manipulates situations and takes advantage and just feeds on it?
Sometimes deliberately manipulate, sometimes just because of the process and because as I discovered in Iraq, some journalists can be quite lazy and not bother with research and present, and the old journalistic standard of getting two witnesses to any event seems to be slipping a lot. But even when you do have two witnesses to something, it still is not necessarily a truth. So I think, in a situation like Iraq, we had me. I was working with the media. The international media were very restricted in terms of access as to who they could talk to. They were trying to set up interviews with Iraqis. The only people that would want to come forward for an interview may have had an agenda themselves. The media may have had an agenda as the type of interviewee they might have wanted to talk to. I certainly had an agenda. I was from the British government. I was tasked with really showing reconstruction efforts in Iraq and all the good work that the British government were doing in terms of that. The military press officers would have had another agenda. Our friends across the border in Iran, they had a very robust attitude to their press TV and Al-Alam. So everyone had their own kind of agenda and view and people they wanted to talk to. There is no one truth in any situation. There are as many truths as there are people, really.
Interesting. And media has been used as a very strong instrument to present those views. Before you go, tell me about the painting behind you.
The painting, you can't really see it.
I can see most of it.
Yeah, no, it was a painting actually. I don't hang many of my own works in my house, but this is one that I do. It was a painting I did after my mother died last year, so it means quite a lot to me. Well, kind of nature and
Caroline,
freedom.
Good luck with the launch today, and I assume the book goes on sale tonight.
Yeah, well, it's on sale. You can buy it. Here it is. You can buy it on Amazon, or if you go to askance-publishing.com, you can.
We'll have all the URLs showing on the screen, and it is on sale on Amazon tonight, right?
Yeah, it's on sale now. Yeah.
Well, fantastic, Caroline. Good luck, and don't be too anxious. We know you're going to do it well.
Thanks very much.
All right, Caroline. Thank you for talking to us. Well, till next time, we'll talk to you again. Have a good night. The final cut.